tight end. Running back's not great either. But generally speaking, I think the talent on the roster is good. The talent on the roster is good enough to be at least 500. My problem here is Vance Joseph's brain. I do not think that Vance Joseph is qualified to be a head coach in the NFL. I think that last year was pretty much all it. Exhibit A, everything. that's like it. I'm not telling you something you don't know. I think I saw somewhere earlier today, Vance Joseph has been called at. Oh, we got to get to this. I saw on social media earlier today that Woody Page was on Altitude, and he's telling Scott Hastings, woo pig suey. He was telling Scott Hastings that he thinks that Vance Joseph's going to get fired after the 49ers game. And, I mean, stealing my takes? I mean, Woody Page? Come on, Woody. You're just trying to steal my takes? You know, and don't give me this I don't know who you are crap. You were following me on Twitter for quite some time, Woody. Broncos fans are smarter than people give them credit for. I think they're smarter than the average NFL fan, and they kind of they're quiet about it a little bit, but they all kind of know whether or not the team's going to be any good, and they can tell. I think people last year, it was a little bit of a surprise to them. It wasn't a surprise to me. I've nailed this team since I got here. I knew exactly how bad they were going to be, and they were, and the reasons why were exactly the reasons why, and now all of a sudden everybody's like speaking my language, criticizing John Elway and saying, hey, I think you're screwing up the team, John. I think you maybe need to do something a little different there. Because they want people to be excited. They're really pushing product right now. Like a used car salesman. They have shined up their Vance Joseph, and they are pushing that out onto the showroom floor. Like, come on, guys, let's move some units. Let's see what we can do today. Let's hit a quota. They are really pushing product right now. The Broncos know what's coming. I think this is an indication. It's a big, bright sign that says we're not going to be good this year. And I know that there's hope. We've talked about this before. There's teams you trust in, there's teams you hope in. And the Broncos are a team that we're hoping are going to be good, but we have no trust or belief in them to do that. So that's fine. I'm just saying that 1650 just screams, please let's not have empty seats. If an NFL team is selling their product for less than $75 a ticket, I kind of question what's going on. What, people not going to games? What's your strategy here? You're trying to find your price point. Because there are a lot of, like, it doesn't matter what the price is in New England. They're going to drive out into the wilderness. Have you ever been to Gillette Stadium? It is in the middle of nowhere. And they're just like, I don't know, like drones, like bees heading out towards, it's mindless. They all go out there and they just pay hundreds of dollars to watch Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and then beat off for 3.5 hours. That's not what the situation is in Denver right now. That you guys are not zombies to the Broncos right now. And I applaud 1650. I think that's good for attention to the fans that way. I just think that that also means that they can't sell them for more because they absolutely would if they could. This is the last week that we really have without any football. Next weekend, we got football, right? We got the Hall of Fame game coming up. T.O. isn't going to be mentioned at all. We'll see how that goes. But I really want people to focus in here on what I'm trying to tell you about Denver.
Hey guys, Benjamin Albright, NFL Underground. I want to talk to you today about the Phantom Football Forum. Designed to give you greater access to me. You get the latest intel, insider information, rumors, news notes, injury information, Vegas lines, fantasy football, power rankings. Watch football games live with me. Phantom Football Forum. Only $1 for your first month if you sign up today. Facebook.com/WatchPhantom. Hit the link right here. Come join us today.
Hey everybody, welcome to Noon O'Clock. I'm TJ Carpenter. Hope everybody is having a wonderful week. I forgot what day of the week it was earlier. It's on the morning show. I got to get up early. My wife is having to work overnights at the hospital. She's a pharmacist here locally in Denver, and they got to work overnight sometimes. Death does not take time off. So she had to go work, and so it's just my whole clock is off. But I hope everyone is having a wonderful, wonderful week so far. We're going to get into just this insane nonsense I'm having to deal with right now on Twitter from Chiefs fans. They're a scourge on the league. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a little bit. We'll also discuss Carlos Henderson, who is not reporting to camp. He's on the exempt list, dealing with some stuff. The reaction is weird. It is almost as though people are pretty what is it, callous towards whatever personal issue he has right now, and they're like, bleep it. We have other wide receivers. So we'll talk a little bit about that coming up as well. But before we get into the show, we'll get into your comments as well. Comment on the feed, share it with your friends, please. We talk. Vast majority of the show is about the Denver Broncos, as is right. I mean, let's just be honest here. But if you want to comment, we interact with the show. Wade, Andy, Ari, you see a lot of the usual suspects in on the chat. So interact with them, interact with me. This is kind of a community show. We like to in aggregate be as funny as possible. So the funnier you are, the funnier I will be. I cannot carry this show by myself. I'll just be honest. I'm too lazy. So you guys are going to have to make up the bulk of the creativity on this show. But before we get into all that, if you're looking for a house in Denver, Brent Malia Properties. Go to tjsagent.com. Brent Malia with Coldwell Banker needs to be your real estate agent. He was my real estate agent. My wife and I were looking for a house here in Denver. We had to get out of the cramped city, get out of our apartment, and find some space. And we found some in beautiful Parker, Colorado, right outside of Denver. Absolutely beautiful, and that's a lot of people's dream is to find what we found. So if you want to live the dream, Brent Malia, tjsagent.com. Also, if you're looking for a mortgage, Platte River Mortgage, you can always call Sean Tadita anytime, day or night. He will always answer the phone. One of my favorite people is Sean. Sean just never takes time off. He is always working. He is a way harder worker than I am, and that's why I'm glad he handled our mortgage. Found some glitches with our credit we didn't even know were there, and fixed them like they were nothing. It was absolutely amazing. So really happy to still be working with both Platte River Mortgage and Brent Malia Properties. Brent with Coldwell Banker if you're looking for a house, and Sean Tadita and Platte River Mortgage if you are looking for a mortgage. Okay, all right, let's get into the comments here. Let's see. Wade's in the house. Ari and TJ continually using New England as the gold standard in the NFL. I love it. Yeah, I mean, they're the gold standard, but they're also like dirty cheaters. So that's proof, by the way, of my theory that cheating is good. It's not really a theory so much as a fact. I think no one ever gets punished for cheating in sports ever. We've talked about this before. The last time it really happened was SMU, and they never recovered. But other than that, like, we don't really care. You cheat away, man. Just cheat, and as long as we're entertained, we're good. Let's see. Benjamin Albright has such a weak V-neck. Redo that spot. You guys got to get a better shirt. Pharmacist and Facebook Live money. No wonder $16.50 is nothing to you. I know. I know. We my wife and I we live in the lap of luxury here in Denver, Colorado. Jenna says, they are mad at you because you said their city was trash in so many words or less. Well, I mean, I lived in Kansas City. Have you lived in Kansas City, Jenna? I've lived in Kansas City. I didn't say it was trash. I said they're delusional, which is true. Chiefs fans they live in another reality where they think Patrick Mahomes and his sideshow Bob haircut is going to run the league this year. I saw some cuckoo bird from CBS Sports said he was going to be an MVP candidate this year. I mean, it's just crazy stuff people are talking about with Patrick Mahomes. But yeah, I mean, I would know how the city is. I lived there for quite some time. I'm an authority on both of these cities. I've lived in both places. I know both places. I actually like Kansas City as a city, but the people there are cray cray. So we just got to call a cray a cray. That's words of wisdom, children. Write that down. You just got to call a cray a cray. Let's see here. Wade says, honesty is the best policy, Jenna. It's true. It is very, very true. And I will say Kansas City is fine. It's a very good Midwestern city. It does not hold a candle to Denver. It doesn't. It's not close. I've lived in both places. And before I lived in Kansas City, I lived in Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Fayetteville's always on those top 5 lists. Denver's always on those top 5 lists. Kansas City's way down in like the 50s. I mean, I'm not the only one who has that opinion. Let's see here. Andy says, TJ Sports nihilism won't allow him to carry a show by himself. Well, I mean, look, I will always give the floor to talent. Now, most of the time, I'm the most talented person in the room, so I usually take the floor, but I will give it to somebody else if they're talented enough. And to talk about this, I mean, look, you know, there's Kansas City's getting kind of uppity. I don't know any other way to describe it. They are very precocious. Have you ever seen a 9-year-old, like quote the founding fathers to an adult in a conversation? Like they're conversing with them like they're equals, but one person's 45 years old and the other one's a 9-year-old girl. That's what the Chiefs fans are. They have all of this confidence. They're just bursting with all of this swagger, Andy Reid, and Patrick Mahomes. We're on our way, Ferrari offense. And it's just it doesn't, none of that's real. It's all fake. It's all in their heads. None of it's happened. None of it's been actualized on the universe yet. It's all just them in their own world, just going along. Oh, it's a sunny day in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is a quarterback, and Andy Reid, and everything's wonderful. And they're basing it off of nothing. What are you basing that off of? One game? One game. All right, Patrick Mahomes, one game. Hall of Famer. That's your I mean, to be fair, the standard in Kansas City is low. Len Dawson is the only quarterback in their franchise's history to throw 30 touchdown passes, and he did it in 1969. That is all you really need to know about the Kansas City Chiefs. Do I need to go on? So yeah, I mean, one game. It's like one game would do it for them. It's not you don't need much. There's not a lot of motion that needs to go on in the bedroom to satisfy the Kansas City Chiefs. Very little gets it done for them. Let's see here. Brent Malia makes all of the houses in Denver, all of them, in his spare time. You're not far off. He actually does make a lot of, he does a lot of that stuff. He knows how to do it, which is why I think he's so good at his job. He knows the house in and out. Let's see, Andy. Brent Malia raised Denver to be a mile high because sitting on a hill wasn't high enough. Well said, Andy. Well said. The V-neck is only half washed. Yeah, I'm going to let does that anyway. Smokey the Bear advises against this. Yeah. Let's see. I have a 9-year-old. I know this all too well. KC broke Montana. Yeah, look, I've just been we've been talking about these Kansas City fans. We haven't even gotten to the Rockies yet. The Rockies totally implode last night, and you know this way too well. Bud Black should know better. You never send Wade Davis back out there. You don't. That was his problem as a starter. And see, I know this because I've covered Wade Davis basically his entire career. And so I've seen Wade Davis as a starter. And his problem was never the first inning. His problem was always the second inning. And so it was quite clearly a problem that Wade Davis could not go more than an inning. It was an arm thing. You have to have a live arm to go out there and pitch. And Wade Davis, I don't care how many pitches it is. If you warm your arm up and then you stop pitching for any amount of time, you're going to have to go back out there, and some guys aren't the same. And that's Wade Davis. And so Wade Davis is like the best one-inning pitcher I've ever seen. The 2 years that 2014 and actually 2013, 14, and 15, all of those years, Wade Davis was just phenomenal out of the bullpen. He had a better 2 year span as a bullpen pitcher than any pitcher in Major League Baseball history. 2 years, he was the best bullpen pitcher ever. And so to say that Wade Davis this is why he's 100% on Bud Black, because you know this. It's in the scouting report. It's in the scouting report. It's like when Nelson Cruz didn't catch that ball in the World Series because he's afraid of walls. Like, the Cardinals knew Nelson Cruz was afraid of walls. It was in the scouting report. They know everything about each other. All you got to do is check. Bud Black doesn't know his closer can only go 1 inning. This is on you, Bud. This team's falling apart because of your lack of leadership. And also, too, fake aces all across the field. And I've been telling people this all year. The Rockies will break your heart. The Rockies will break your heart. I've been out on the Rockies. That's why it's on the Broncos training camp for me. I don't need any more baseball. Baseball's dead in this town now. No more baseball town talk. No more Rockies talk. We're all in on Broncos, who are gonna suck, but we're in on the Broncos because that's all we can really discuss in this town right now. Because the Rockies aren't giving us any other choice. They're just going out there night after night and just sucking it up every single time they're out there. Andy says the Rockies implode. The Rangers were up 10-2 versus the A's going into the 7th. Ended up losing 13-10. Yeah, like, the Rangers suck. You won't get any debate from me there. Wade says, ask the Yankers about blowing it. Jogging catchers everywhere. Yeah, look, Gary Sanchez really lazy. I mean, you gotta that kind of stuff makes you angry, right? Makes you so angry. Lazy catchers. And I don't buy into this injury stuff. Don't tell me, he's hurt. Oh, blah, blah. No, that's just a guy. You're just trying to help him save face at this point. I know how baseball works. No one's ever hurt in baseball. Not really. I mean, unless you get hit in the face with a baseball, then you're really hurt. But other than that, or cancer. I think those two things are acceptable excuses to come out of a baseball game. Everything else, though, like that Buster Posey ankle thing, Posey could have played. Come on. Posey's just a wimp. That's what that is. And this thing, too, Gary Sanchez, he's just lazy. Fat and lazy. That's right, Yankees. Joke. Bunch of jokes, the Yankees. I don't even know how Zach Rosenberg lives with himself. Zach Rosenberg here, Zach McMoneybags, as I call him, our grand leader here at Phantom. He's a big New Yorker. That's how they do it in New Yorker. They're just a bunch of hot doggers who lazy as all get out. That's the Yankee way. Just don't care about anybody. Regular season. I'm a Yankee. I don't need to work hard to go chase that ground ball. Wait, he's the dirty Sanchez today. You're not hurt unless you are. Yeah, exactly. You're not hurt unless you are. That's how baseball's supposed to work. And that's not how it's been working lately. I just think, look, Gary Sanchez, I'm out on Sanchez. I'm out on the Yankees. I mean, no wonder the Red Sox are up by so many games right now. I mean, the fact that the Yankees aren't already at the century mark or close, come on. You should 5 games. They should be 90-5. That's what they should be right now. They should be way better than they are. The fact that they've lost at all this year is kind of unacceptable when you really think about it. I mean, they're supposed to win every game, aren't they? They're the better team. They got more talent. All right, let's see. New York Yankees sucks donkey balls. Look, New York is a fine town. I've always wondered this about people who live in New York, though, because if you live in New York, you probably think everything smells like that. But if you don't live in New York, you really notice that New York in particular smells like a combination of sewage and hot dog sweat. It's just the worst smell all the time, and it follows you around. It's in your face. There's this wetness this kind of sticky. It's like a dish that you can't get the olive oil off of. That's the way everything in New York is. It's just all kind of dripping with this condensation of people. And I don't know how to really describe it. The Red Sox traded for Nathan Eovaldi. I don't know who that is. Is that bad? Should I know? Should I know who that is? I should probably know who that is. If the Red Sox traded for them, I should probably know who it is. Had a few holes still in their rotation. Why not get a new hurler? See, here's the problem with baseball. I can't follow it the way I used to. I was so into baseball when I was in Kansas City because I had to watch every single game, every single night. And the problem now is that I don't have time for that. This is a 5-sport town. I've got NBA stuff I got to look at. The Broncos clearly are my number one priority. I got NHL to cover. I got all kinds of college football stuff. I looked at college football stuff a whole lot. Now, I was just looking at Miami's schedule the other day. Miami might go undefeated because LSU's not that good this year. Miami might go undefeated because of their weak-ass schedule. Other than back-to-back Techs on the road, which you never want to go back-to-back Techs on the road. But if you do go back-to-back Techs on the road and you win, you're pretty much set up for an undefeated season. So, look, watch out for the Hurricanes. There you go. Random Miami Hurricanes take right there in the middle. Let's see here. Tampa was holding him back. Everyone has holes in their rotation. He'll be decent so he was in Tampa. His record and ERA will improve in Boston. Yeah, well, I for some reason everyone's does, right? But anyways, I'm out on the Rockies, and I have been all season long. I don't even know why I'm talking about it right now. I guess I'll just stop talking about them, and let's discuss something a little bit more important, like Carlos Henderson not showing up to Broncos camp. Now, he's on the exempt list, and I'm totally fine with him missing for a couple of reasons. And I think the first of which is that they've got a ton of wide receivers who look like they're going to be pretty good or should be good or are good. In fact, there's only really 2 places on the Broncos roster where you're like, yeah, they're set. There's no problem at that position. And it is wide receiver and then pass rusher. Or outside linebacker. And I know they're adding Bradley Chubb to the mix, but even without Bradley Chubb, Shane Ray, Shaq Barrett, the Von Miller, they've got really good outside linebackers. So outside linebackers and wide receiver, that's your bread and butter if you're the if you're the Denver Broncos. So Carlos Henderson not showing up, I think a lot of people kind of think he's a bum, which is not my opinion of Carlos Henderson, but you definitely don't need Carlos Henderson. I'm not gonna pretend that him not being at camp isn't potentially an issue on special teams or when it comes to rotations, or you can generally speaking be displeased with Carlos Henderson not showing up. But I don't think you can be displeased with the wide receiver position in general. The wide receiver position for the Broncos is pretty good. I know Demaryius Thomas is north of 30, but he's still one of the better big-bodied possession receivers in the league. And then Emmanuel Sanders, rumored to be this elite-level athlete. If you can utilize him, if Case Keenum can set up and he's got any kind of semblance of time to operate in this offense, you've got a really good combination of experience on the roster and young, formidable talent that doesn't have to be relied upon exclusively for your team to be good. And I think that that's really valuable. The Broncos are a disaster in a lot of ways. But one area where they're not, one area where you can be genuinely safe and proud and say, yes, they're going to be good at that position. If the other things fall into place, I know that's going to be good. Wide receiver. Wide receiver, they're good on wide receiver. And if wide receiver if it comes down to everything else panning out and the running game is there and Case Keenum feels healthy and he feels comfortable in the pocket and he can sit back there and operate, that there's an explosive element potential to this offense because of who's in the wide receiving core, which, I don't need to tell you how important the position's become in the league over the last few years. Red Sox will reach 100 wins, Wade says. TJ Carpenter, breaking news. The Broncos go to Dallas. Thanks. Case Keenum can't set up a lemonade stand. I don't know. That's the thing with Case Keenum is I don't know what he is. He could be Kurt Warner. He could also be nothing. He could be Trevor Siemian. He could be a fraud. I don't know. That's a question mark. If we're being totally honest and we're going down the list of things, wide receiver is at the top of if you're rating things on a scale of what I'm most confident in to least confident in. Most confident is definitely wide receiver. Least confident is probably running back. No, I take that back. Least confident is tight end. Most confident wide receiver. Then after that, I'm going to say quarterback. And then offensive line after that. Then running back. Then tight end. That's how you rank the confidence of each position group. Because after wide receiver, it's a huge drop-off down to where you're at quarterback with, okay, well, he was 15-1 last year, which is good, but can he duplicate that on a different roster with different players and different coaches and new everything? Can he do that again? I don't really know. No one knows that. No one. Case Keenum doesn't know that. So like this idea but the wide receivers are good. And, so Carlos Henderson not being there, of all the places where I think, and that's what I think is maybe a little bit frustrating about the draft, is that they got better in two areas where they were already good. And if there was one reason why I would say that this year is definitely a rebuild year for the Broncos, definitely a rebuild year, is because of that. Because I think that they made good choices at those positions in the draft. I think Bradley Chubb's going to be really good. I think Cortland Sutton has the potential to be really good. And so I think that those two places, I'm like, okay, well, I feel good about the players you drafted. I also think that the players you drafted are players who will help you in places where you don't need any help. At least not yet. So this whole, because that was the big justification behind both of those, is that, they need to reload at those positions because they've got players coming up in contract situations a year from now. And I'm like, wait a second. Okay, so you're focused on what's going to happen contract-wise a year from now when you don't know who your quarterback is, you don't know who the right side of your offensive line is going to be, you've got to replace a premier corner talent, you had significant issues at the safety position last year, you've got aged inside linebackers, and also every component of your offense other than the position that you seem to have drafted and prioritized this year also needs help. That's why I'm always like, what? And that was one of the frustrating things about the beginning of this offseason, is because, now I feel like people are really starting to get the picture. But at the beginning of the offseason, you were still in sort of like cuckoo bird Broncos mode, where everybody just marches to the beat of the same drum. Let's see. Andy says he doesn't have the permits to set up a lemonade stand. Least confident is quarterback. Least confident is quarterback? I mean, I would say quarterback is right, the most confident right after. Hey, quit that. Sorry, there's a dog over there chewing on something he can't chew on. Okay, so let's see here. Confidence in O-line over running backs. I know. What of the running backs that you have, one has real experience. Of the offensive linemen that you have, you've got Matt Paradis, who is good. You've got Garrett Bowles, who is promising, but he's still a project. But certainly, you think that that's a big maybe with him still. But you saw some signs at the very least that he could be good soon. So there's a hope there. Let's see. Andy says Kiefer Sutherland, Cortland Sutton, running back over the O-line matters not. Either one not being up to snuff ruins the other. I think that's kind of true. Yes, I believe that that's the case. In a lot of ways, yes. The offensive line needs to be good for the running backs to be good unless your name's Le'Veon Bell. Then it doesn't matter. Jamal Charles could do a lot with very little on the offensive line. There are some running backs who can operate in that space without needing great blockers. But, for the running backs they have, they're going to need offensive linemen to be good. That's the way Alex Gibbs has been or was coaching the Broncos offensive line forever, and that's kind of what people are used to in this town in terms of having a rushing attack. That's how they want it to be, I think, to be honest with you, because that's just what they're used to seeing, and that's when the Broncos have been at their best, what the running game has looked like. Whenever they win a Super Bowl, it's always because of the running game, never because of their Hall of Fame quarterback. It's a weird thing. The Broncos culture has been get to Super Bowls when your quarterback's amazing, but lose. Win Super Bowls when your running game is fantastic and the quarterback doesn't really need to be relied on that much, plus defense. And still take a ton of credit for never having drafted a quarterback that's been successful here for your franchise, and yet also have to your name 2 Super Bowl winning Hall of Fame quarterbacks. It's really weird, but that's how it works here in Denver. Yes, but since we're ranking, so Ryan, you're saying that you would rank it as most confident in the wide receivers, which is, their wide receivers are definitively good. There's no debating that. 32 out of 32 people, if you polled one person from each NFL market or from each NFL fan base, they would all agree that the Broncos wide receivers are good. That is a statement. And they've got good young players too. But then after that, it's just like, I don't know. It's kind of interchangeable. I would say quarterback just because of how good Case Keenum was last season. I don't want to take that away from him, but it's still a question mark. And then after that, it's either running back or wide receiver and then tight end. Running back or offensive line and then tight end. The running back and the offensive line, you could say, are complementary. I think that's absolutely right. Let's see. TJ Carpenter is all grown up, doing a show on his own, but he forgets that sometimes you gotta give the dog a bone. Let's see. Manning was extremely average in the last Super Bowl win. Right. I was explaining this to a student at the Colorado Media School yesterday, because he said, "Look, Manning was trash that last year. We didn't even need him. We didn't even need Jared Riddle, who I told to watch the show." He knows what he said, and I said, "Do you realize?" He's like, "It's all defense and it was all the running game." And I said, first of all, no, those two things were good for the Broncos, but do you realize how good Peyton Manning is? Here's how good Peyton Manning is. The Broncos were staring the 5 seed in the face in 2015. Just staring it in the face. Playing against the Chargers, Brock Osweiler has taken over as the quarterback. Peyton Manning looks like he's never going to play another down of football in the NFL. And Osweiler can't do anything against the Chargers, and the Chargers are winning. And then all of a sudden, everybody looks over to the end of the bench at Peyton Manning and says, "Peyton, save us!" And he goes out there onto the field, and he does it. And he does it without throwing a pass. That's how good Peyton Manning was. So don't act like Peyton Manning did nothing. He got them the 1 seed in the postseason, which got them to the Super Bowl. And even though he didn't have the arm, he was noodle arm Manning at that point, he was still the smartest guy on the field. Still. And that matters at that position a bunch. You got to know how to see the board, and no one sees the board better than Peyton Manning. Nobody. Even Tom Brady. Tom Brady's got other qualities. He's smarter with the football. He makes better choices with the football, but nobody sees the field better than Manning. Nobody in the history of the NFL. Let's see here. Jake says Manning was average as far as ability the last year. However, just having him on the field was more valuable than most quarterbacks. Yep, absolutely agree, Jake. Wade, the defense was the biggest factor. It was in the Super Bowl. We can agree on that. In the Super Bowl, it was rattling Cam Newton. The second Cam Newton got rattled, he got popped in the mouth one too many times by Von Miller, and then that game was over with. He just caved. And that's what the big knock on Cam Newton has been his entire career, is that he caves in those big moments when you pop him in the mouth. And guess what's funny about that? I remember interviewing D Ford when I was in Kansas City. D Ford, pass rusher, Auburn. They played 1 year together at Auburn. And he said, here's the thing to know about Cam Newton. You got to pop that dude in the mouth. You got to hit him and hit him hard, hit him early, and make him fear getting hit. And then you'll win. And not every quarterback is like that. And he was describing to me, explaining to me, this is some really good insight. We had a really good conversation about this. He was explaining, he said, look, not all guys are like that. Some guys you can rattle, some guys you can't. And the bigger guys are usually the ones who can't take it. He said that. He said, usually the bigger guys, usually the guys who are used to asserting themselves physically on others, they kind of get away with the intimidation factor. It's the smaller guys you can't rattle because they're used to getting hit. And he's like, yeah, some of the smaller guys, some of the guys you just dwarf, those guys get up time after time after time, and it wears you down because it's like Drago in Rocky 4. He's like, he won't break. I don't know what to do. I'm exhausted, and he won't go down. That is why those smaller quarterbacks, a lot of times, because they're used to getting punished, they make it in the league, and these big, strong super athletes, they can't do it because they're not used to getting hit like that. They're not used to being abused. They're not used to going up against guys who are just as big as they are. And it's true about Cam Newton. He is really good at delivering punishment as a runner. He is not good at taking it at all. So, yes, I will agree. Yes, the defense was the biggest factor there in the Super Bowl. Wade says, I'll always hate Manning. He ruined Indy and their chances at being much greater. What's that? So you're going to blame Peyton Manning got you a Super Bowl, Wade? Let's see. I loved it, but could see the reality for what it was. He's the LeBron James of the NFL. Win a bunch of meaningless games, then lose it when it counts. Yeah, but he does have two titles. And LeBron James has 3, so they all won championships. So they're not Jim Kelly. They're not Dan Marino. They're not guys who never won titles and always kind of seem to fail in those moments or fall. He's kind of more like Lefty, Phil Mickelson. He's kind of like a Mickelson type, you know. Mickelson won some. He's won some. He's lost a lot. He's come in second a bunch. That's Manning. I mean, for his career. And once again, this is the difference between appreciating a player for being great and calling them the greatest. Because to be in the greatest conversation, you have to meet certain prerequisites, and one of them is titles. And you can't lose a lot. You can't be largely defined as a loser in your career. I don't think Manning will be defined as a loser, but he's not defined as a winner as much as some other people. And pretty much every program, pretty much every athlete is always defined either by their successes or by their failures. And LeBron James will probably end up being defined by his failures. More so than his successes. I think the opposite will probably be true for Manning. Manning will be defined mostly by his successes, unless he gets popped like in a really public way for something at some point in his career, which I think is a possibility. He is not. You know, there are a lot of people who accuse like Tim Tebow of being a fraud, a phony, a fake. You know, that he's not really that sincere and genuine. He is. He actually is. The guy who is not the thing you think he is when you see he's on TV is Peyton Manning. And I'm not saying Peyton Manning's a mean guy. I'm just saying he's not like squeaky clean Tom Hanks guy. He's not affable, lovable Peyton Manning like everybody thinks he is. There's a little bit of Reagan going on there. Did everybody see that Phil Hartman sketch on SNL where Ronald Reagan is in the White House and he's just this old doddering idiot when the Girl Scouts come through, but then he turns into like maniacal genius when that's Peyton Manning. Let's see here. He's like a piece of iron, Drago. Yes, that's what happens with those smaller quarterbacks. If you want a good predictor of who's going to be a good quarterback at the next level, find the quarterback who is a talented, struggling but above average record-wise program in a major conference. So, like Eli Manning for Ole Miss. That was a really good pick because he was a really good college quarterback for a program that doesn't win anything and always gets pummeled by programs like Alabama. You never go with the big program quarterback. Never go. Those guys almost never work out. And then the guys at the lower levels never work out either. But those guys who are right there in the middle at a program like that's kind of like it's like a B program. Those B program quarterbacks, go look at Purdue. Purdue has produced like 5 NFL quarterbacks. Oregon State produces a bunch of NFL quarterbacks. NC State has produced a ton of NFL quarterbacks. They're these kind of like mid-level meddling programs that just they're never the perennial blue bloods. They're not the elite level powerhouse programs, and they're not the dregs. The directional schools. Those middle level programs that kind of compete, they're a little bit above average while that quarterback is there. Those quarterbacks, they're the ones who have to do it by themselves. They're the ones who have to be used to having their undersized offensive linemen just get destroyed by 5-star after 5-star recruit from Alabama who just wave after wave just wears them down, and they get hit over and over and over again, and they always get back up. Those are the guys who make good NFL quarterbacks because they can take it and they know what's expected of them. That is the hardest burden to bear, is being that quarterback. Excuse me. Is that muting, by the way? Because it may not be muting. I'm trying to mute the microphone so that I can sniff, but if that's not working, let me know. I just saw a spike on my board here. Let's see. Shazad Ali says, I don't know, this isn't football, but since you live in Denver area, so you can tell me why the Nuggets stadium doesn't have more people in attendance. They're such a fun young team. That's because nobody cares about the Nuggets. The Nuggets have no legacy of championship success, even though they've had good stints in their period as a franchise. 2009, they made the Western Conference Finals with George Karl and Melo and all that stuff. So those moments, they've had their moments, but they've never been defined by any sort of class of stars. And, that's just life as a meddling NBA franchise. But they should have more people. When the Celtics come to town, they have a ton of fans that come to games. Let's see. Wade says, he didn't get me anything. I hate the Colts. He created a buzz that led Irsay to demand a new stadium or they'd leave again. And now that Manning not only left, but is now retired, the Indiana residents are still paying for the extra taxes for that crap Lucas Oil Stadium. That ruined the skyline for Indy. When other owners got new stadiums with private funding, not placing the burden of it on taxpayers. Without the taxpayer funding stadium, the Colts would be in L.A. Jenna says she cares about the Denver Nuggets. See, there's one. Allen Iverson, Carmelo Anthony. First of all, Iverson was over the hill. And Melo never played defense. So you couldn't really... Was Melo ever an elite player? Like, really an elite player? Was he ever really an elite player? Because he scored a lot of meaningless points. He scored Melo? Never. I've never been a Melo fan. I'm not a Melo guy. Some people in this town, they still love Melo, and I don't get it. He is the least likable, least productive, least impactful superstar I've ever seen in the NBA. And I don't know why people are just so cuckoo over Chauncey Billups, J.R. Smith. You're like those but see, that's the level that right there is exactly why the Nuggets are irrelevant. The Nuggets are irrelevant because the long list of elite level players that have played in a Nuggets uniform include such big names as Over the Hill, Allen Iverson, Carmelo Anthony, Chauncey Billups, and J.R. Smith. Meanwhile, the logo of the league played in Los Angeles, Magic Johnson. Everyone played in L.A. Like there's a big difference. Like there's a pecking order, and where the Nuggets are in the pecking order is way down there. Let's see here. Melo had a buzz, but nothing more. You are not Melo at all. More like high-strung. I'm not mellow. I'm not a mellow guy. Not a mellow. Jim Boeheim built a championship team around Melo. Yeah. 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 That's true. I guess Melo will always have Syracuse. He'll always have that his moment in the sun, the NCAA tournament. That's the Thuggets. Yeah, right, the Thuggets. Yeah, the Thuggets weren't they weren't a thing outside of Denver. Nobody's really ever cared about the Nuggets. I had a boss in Arkansas who was a big Nuggets fan for a while, and I did not get it. I did not understand it. But he was from Denver, and he kind of he was like, oh yeah, the Nuggets, and just tried to make the argument. It's always dubious. You know when somebody is beaten in an argument when you can see it in their face. They start saying the stuff out loud, and they're like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Chauncey Billups that is not an appropriate response to why the Nuggets should be considered a better franchise than they're considered. That is not an appropriate response. By the way, I am getting just lambasted today by Chiefs fans. We got to talk about this, and I really think people should tweet this out. Tweet it to all the Chiefs fans. I had a fan from the Chiefs today. I follow a couple of Chiefs people. I've got some friends who are in Kansas City. I lived there for 5 years, so I'm on the social meds today. And I'm watching my buddy who is standing outside of of a dorm room in St. Joseph, Missouri, which is the land time forgot. They're out there in St. Joe, Missouri, and they're watching second string and like assistant coaches walk into this dorm room, and there's like 50 media members from KC out there doing this. It's 115 degrees out there. Everybody's miserable. You don't understand why you can't stand on the sidewalk, because all the players need hundreds and hundreds of feet of buffer between them and some fat guy with a camera and a notepad. Anyways, so they're all doing this today, and somebody takes a picture of Anthony Sherman, who's dressed up in a USA onesie, which looks great. He looks good in it, but nobody knows who Anthony Sherman is. You don't know who Anthony Sherman is. You know who Richard Sherman is. Not Richard Sherman. Anthony Sherman. White fullback Anthony Sherman. He's the last of the fullbacks. Daniel Day-Lewis is going to come out of retirement to play Anthony Sherman in the last of the fullbacks. He's it. He's the last living fullback. There's none of them. That's right, Rigo. I'm not counting you. Who was the guy who played fullback? Mike Allstott. I always thought Mike Allstott was going to be the last of the fullbacks, and he wasn't. He wasn't. They kept doing the fullback. There was always occasionally, Andy Reid always had a fullback for some reason. And then now here we go. We finally have the last of the fullbacks, Anthony Sherman. And Anthony Sherman walks in. He's wearing his weird getup. And I say, well, and this concludes your Anthony Sherman coverage for the season. Because he's a fullback, and he's never used. They never use him for anything. No one knows who he is. And so I just look at this, and I'm making a joke, and somebody says, the hate continues. And I respond with an eye roll. Eye roll emoji. Not much of a response. Just respond. Innocent response. And then he says, sorry, Denver doesn't have anybody interesting enough for you to cover, so you have to talk about Chiefs. And I said, yeah, because Von Miller is really super boring. You're totally right. Anthony Sherman is way more interesting and a bigger draw than Von Miller, who leads the league in jersey sales for defensive players, and is one of the more colorful players in the league. I think everybody would say that. Most people would say, yeah, Von Miller's one of the more colorful, interesting people in the NFL. And those same people would also say, who is Anthony Sherman? So that's why Chiefs fans are just delusional sometimes. They're just crazy. And so this has sparked all kinds of outrage, and everybody's mad at me for for some reason, just speaking the truth here and defending somebody who needs no defending really from my part, Von Miller. But it's just sort of like, how crazy can you be? Being like, oh yeah, Anthony Sherman. Oh, he's a delight. Just hilarious. It's a fullback and he's wearing a onesie. And on the other side, like, yeah, Von Miller. That guy's a jerk. So stupid, boring, jerk, stupid. I don't even like those commercials. Dumb. That's why I don't even use Old Spice. I don't even wear deodorant. I don't even bathe because of Von Miller. Ruined my life. I'm a stinky person because of Von. How do you like that? America stinks more because of Von Miller. That's how Chiefs fans, that's how they think. That's how their brains operate. Anthony Sherman is a national treasure to them. Von Miller has made it certain that Missouri bathes less. Let's see here. J.R. Smith's one shining moment. Are you talking about Melo? Yeah, Melo's one shining moment. Let's see. I thought we were up, Bron. Back in the early 90s, a kid at school, Wiggs always wears a Nuggets jersey. He was beaten up quite a bit. Just saying. Yeah, nobody wears a Nuggets jersey. Who wears a Nuggets jersey? Boo that joke. What bad joke did I make? Come on, Andy, you gotta give me some details. What bad joke did I make? Wade says, you fat shame people too often. I resemble that. Who did I fat shame? Who did I fat shame? I'm sorry. I didn't mean the trolls. Trolls got a troll. Potatoes got a potate. Potatoes got a potate. Allstott bought me a beer at Purdue once. Yeah, once again, Mike Allstott, I thought was going to be the last of the fullbacks. He wasn't. Anthony Sherman is going to be the last of the fullbacks. Fullbacks aren't even really players. They're really more kind of like mascots at this point. They're not treated like they're football players. Like, they're treated as the embodiment of the ideal football player, but nobody actually uses them to play football anymore, which I find odd. The fullback position doesn't exist anymore in the NFL, largely, and yet every team seems to need to have one for some reason. But yes, I do think that the Chiefs fans are delusional. They think that Patrick Mahomes is the best thing ever. The Chiefs are going to suck this year. They're going to really struggle. Suck relatively speaking. They might win the division, but 9-7, they're not going to win the division with double-digit wins. And Patrick Mahomes is going to throw a lot of picks. He's going to either throw a lot of picks, or Andy Reid's not going to let him throw the ball downfield or to any really particular target. He's going to have to play it safe. And the offense is going to be stagnant. It's not going to be nearly what people think it is. Every time people think Andy Reid has this amazing offense, it always falls flat on its face. And this is one of those moments. The bar for Chiefs fans has been set really, really low as to what they think is acceptable, and Broncos fans' standards are a lot higher. So when you look at them, I guess here's my thing. Just let me make my jokes. When I make fun of your craziness, because you are crazy. I make fun of everybody's crazy. I make fun of myself. I make fun of everybody. People take these jokes too seriously. But I mean, you know how Chiefs fans troll the Broncos? Chiefs fans troll Broncos fans by making stupid shit up about Von Miller. You know how you troll a Chiefs fan? Just tell them the truth. That's all you got to do. You realize that when Andy Reid took the Chiefs job, he had more career playoff wins than they had franchise playoff wins? Yeah. It's amazing. They went like 2 decades without winning a playoff game. They also have gone a long time without making it to a Super Bowl. They never win at home. In fact, they usually fall flat on their face in some sort of like historically embarrassing fashion, like letting Marcus Mariota throw a pass to himself and beat you after you were up by 18 points on the Titans, or letting Andrew Luck literally fumble the ball at the goal line into a score after being up 28 points in the playoffs, or Lynn Elliott missing a field goal, or Any other time you missed a field goal in the playoffs, which just happens quite a bit. There was one time where they lost to the Indianapolis Colts in the postseason and never forced a punt. They never forced Peyton Manning at any point to go 3 and out or just get to a 4th down. They never forced a 4th down, or at least never forced the Colts to punt in that game. Yeah, that's all you have to say is just start reciting facts about the Chiefs' history. Really, any point in their history. Their worst season, 2012. Well, you know what happened in 2012? They went 2-14. And had the worst offense ever. They, at one point, were on pace for 78 turnovers. Matt Castle was booed as he was carted off the field with a concussion. Then Eric Winston turned on all the fans, and then there was a fight openly between Chiefs players and Chiefs fans. And then after that, at one point, Romeo Crennel thought that the solution to all of their problems was to put up a sign in the locker room that said, "Eliminate bad football," which then in turn the media took and said, "Why are you negatively reinforcing your team? That's not smart. Why would you do that? That's such a stupid sign." And then they caved to that media pressure and changed the sign to from "Eliminate bad football" to "Play good football." Because anytime you want to motivate an adult, just say, do good. Just do good. That's how we motivate. And then Javon Belcher killed his wife and himself and orphaned his daughter. And then everybody got fired at the end of the season. And then I said, Brady, because I interviewed the starting quarterback every week when I was in Kansas City. And I remember at the end of that season, they were cleaning out their lockers. Brady Quinn was the backup quarterback at the end of the season as a starter. And I went over to Brady Quinn, and I said, "I really enjoyed talking to you this year. I wish you the best of luck, and I'm sorry you had to go through this." And he said, "Yeah, this was easily the worst season I've ever experienced in my life." And then I never saw him again. And that was how that season ended. So, look, there's a lot of bad stuff that has been in Chiefs history, and you don't have to look very hard. It's everywhere. That's how you troll Kansas City fans. Let's see here. Current Tennessee coach Mike Vrabel did well as a fullback. He wasn't even a fullback. He was a linebacker. Let's see. Wade, Kansas City barbecue sucks. It does not suck. It's fantastic. That right there is where Kansas City gets a leg up, because then people make shit up like that. Like Kansas City doesn't have good barbecue. Kansas City has incredible barbecue. It's the best barbecue in the country. Let's see. They begin their season but punching the Pats in the mouth, then go 0-15. Yep. He missed the kick. Laces out, Dan. Poor Brady Quinn. It was so bad. I've never in my life ever experienced anything like that. That was putrid. It was so bad. And I see a lot of the earmarkers, because that's the thing with that Chiefs team. That Chiefs team had 7 Pro Bowlers on it. 7 Pro Bowl, made the Pro Bowl in 2012. And after going 2-14. And then Andy Reid took that almost identical roster and won 11 games with it the next season. That's why I have been adamant about this since the start of the offseason. The Broncos have good players, and they're still going to suck. Not because their players aren't that good or don't try hard or whatever. It's because the coaching is terrible. And that's what's going to be the case again this year, so get ready, Denver. All right, that's going to do it for us here on Noon O'Clock. I want to thank everybody for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Next noon. Next noon that comes around, we'll be here. So join us. Please share this with your friends. We're on Monday through Friday right here, noon o'clock. Love everybody who interacts with the show. So please interact with the show. We'll get to your comments periodically throughout the show. If you interact a lot, we're going to talk a lot. You're going to be a fixture on the show. This is a communal show. So want to thank everybody once again for watching, and that's going to do it for me. I'm TJ Carpenter, live for Phantom, live on noon o'clock here for Phantom. And don't forget, if you're looking for a house, Brent Malia, TJ'sagent.com, and if you're looking for a mortgage, PlatteRiverMortgage.com, and Sean Sedito. I want to thank everybody for watching once again. Later, y'all.